Um, 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 anyway.
You know, most of you guys know how I feel about Patrick Rothfuss. I've talked about him in some of our podcast episodes and shared my thoughts. But because it's such a divisive topic, I've stayed away from making a dedicated video on my feelings towards this author. However, a while back, Rothfuss ran a charity stream and asked his fans for an ungodly amount of money. And in return, he would supply us with another hit of that sweet, sweet den of resin that is the King Killer Chronicle. He promised everyone a peek at the prologue, which he did give us, and also a full chapter from the third book. And as of this recording right now, we still have not gotten that chapter. Luckily, I wasn't stupid enough to give this man any more of my money, but many unfortunate people did and are understandably upset that he hasn't followed up on his end of the bargain. Now, I will say that the money was for charity, so seemingly he wasn't just pocketing it, but I'll also just say that as far as I'm aware, we haven't seen any receipts of exactly where that money went. And look, I could be wrong. I'm not trying to accuse anyone of anything. I'm just saying that as of right now, I have not seen them. So maybe if there are receipts for that, let me know down in the comments and I'll be happy to take a look at them. But, anyways, even with all of that controversy, I still didn't feel like making a video on it and kicking up a big hornet's nest until a couple days ago when I see that Rothfuss got on Twitch for the first time in what seems like forever to make the most god awful apology I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? I have some thoughts on it. I want to be as level headed about this as possible and go through the apology video. Spoilers, he never actually apologizes about literally anything. But yeah, I'll make some comments as we go through it, and then I might talk about my feelings towards Rothfuss in general, just to have them out there officially, finally, rather than buried in one of our podcast episodes. I'm going to include clips from the apology video. I don't even know if I should be calling it that, but I'll include clips from the video to go along with what I'm saying. So it will be chopped up a little bit, but I am taking the full context of what he's saying into account. I'm not going to be taking things out of context and using like cleverly edited segments to make my point. And I will post the full video down in the description so that you can see for yourself. But yeah, I just wanted to make that super clear that even though I will be having clips that I will be referencing as I talk, I'm not pulling that out of context, and you guys will be able to see all of that for yourself. So let's start near the beginning after Rothfuss kind of gains his bearings a little bit and decides how he wants to answer a Twitch user's question relating to the missing chapter.
But if I'm going to do it, why don't I do this? And why don't I have a bunch of people and they can record themselves reading it? And it's like, well, I should brush up the text. I should do art. I should get a video editor. Suddenly it's a huge thing. And then I either keep doing that or I've wasted all the time and asked favors. And so, yeah, I do want to do it. I want to do it, but it would have been so easy a month after to just do it. And just like, I remember saying like, well, I don't just want to throw a wad of text onto my blog. That's boring. Let's do something fun.
So I can sympathize to some extent with what he's saying. Things get complicated and life happens, and I totally get that. There's been numerous times in the past few months on the podcast where I've had to delay episodes being posted or even delay episodes being recorded because life happens, and I felt awful about it, even though you guys probably don't care most of the time and are very gracious about it. However, the main difference between me and someone like Rothfuss is that I don't get paid to do this. The only source of income we make from this podcast is from our generous patrons. And even then, it's obviously not anywhere near on the same scale as someone like Rothfuss. If I was getting paid to do this, you bet I would be working day and night every single day on content for you guys, and it would be out by a fixed deadline because I'm getting money for it. But Rothfuss gets paid very well for the work that he's done, and also asked for a ton of money for charity, which people gave expecting a chapter. In my opinion, he should be working day and night on this thing. And honestly, I do understand what he's saying about how he wanted it to be a special thing with all this fanfare and custom art and whatnot, but it's like, dude, it's a chapter. Just post the chapter. All of that fanfare, the artwork, the voice actors, all that stuff, he should be doing that for a special edition or, the third book. Why would he do so much for one chapter that people are going to read, talk about for a week, and then forget? It feels very ta-da, I did the thing, when it's like, dude, that's not even a tenth of the thing that we've all been waiting for. That's not even the bare minimum. That's too much effort to put into such a small release. Like, what is he going to do? Make a special hardcover version of a chapter? Bro, write the book. Write the book and release a bunch of awesome artwork and whatnot around that time, and it'll be a huge celebration. That would be awesome. But instead, he tries to reinvent the wheel on what should otherwise be a quick slam dunk that will get people off his back for a while. It's the same attitude he's had about this for forever now, and it's the craziest self-sabotaging I've ever seen. Like, stop overthinking it, write the thing, and your fans will love you for it. The fans want to love him so much. We want to see him succeed. But unfortunately, he's a real life Quoth, wasting away, waiting for his day in the sun to come back again. But he has full control over that, and there's only so much people can do to help him, and it's really, really sad, man. Let's look at the next clip here.
And so I tried to do something fun, and instead it turned into a big thing, and it got complicated, and it got hard, and then various fires in my life, which meant I couldn't keep it going. I couldn't put a bow on it. So, yeah, I feel bad about it.
So he mentions that there was multiple fires that he had to put out in his own life. And again, I understand and I empathize. Sometimes life happens and you need to step away for a minute. But at this point, it really just seems like an excuse because he's been saying that for years. And I know he's talked about his mental health stuff in the past, and I've had to deal with that to varying degrees of severity before and had to step away from everything else I was doing in my life for a while. So I get it. But at what point do you just have to pull yourself out of the hole that you dug and just do the thing? On top of that, he's never exactly been open about his real life issues, unless I'm unfamiliar with a stream where he talked about them or something. And obviously, his private life is private. I totally get that. But I'm just saying, maybe if he let people see behind the curtain a bit, if he was honest about where he's at in his work, the fans would be a little bit more understanding. Even Jim Butcher took quite a long break for a while, but he still told his fans what was going on. he was going through a divorce, and then I think he got sick at one time, and he had a number of other things come up. And he kept his fans up to date because he knew that they love him and he loves his fans, and he knew that his fans wanted to support him. It's just frustrating, and I wish that Rothfuss had as much respect for his fans as we have, or at least that we try to have for him. And I wish that he had the same respect for his fans that someone like Sanderson does. But anyways, in that clip and the ones before that, he keeps saying, "I feel really bad," but he doesn't actually apologize to the people that he essentially stole money from. I know that seems like a lot to say, oh, he stole money from his fans, but as of right now, like, he kind of has. Like, it's not, I really don't feel like it's going too far to say that he has essentially stolen money from his fans, whether it went to a good cause or not. He said there was going to be a thing, and I think at the time he even said that it was going to be within the next few months or something. That was his plan to get it out, and obviously delays happen. That's understandable, but at this point it's just been so long. His whole apology, this whole video, comes off as being very, it's all about me. And it really just seems like he tends to get stuck in a pit of his own feelings and can't acknowledge anything outside of that. I'm not saying that his feelings aren't valid. I'm not saying that people aren't, complete assholes to him. There are people on the internet that suck every day, and it sucks. But I'm also kind of like, I think that you can acknowledge your feelings, and you could acknowledge, how however you see the situation, but also come in and say, I'm going to take responsibility for my part in, what's going on. And I feel like he just didn't really do that in that video. Even with the previous clip we watched, he only talked about what he wanted for the chapter with the special artwork and everything, and didn't seem to think, I wonder what the fans want. Do they want all this fanfare, or do they just want the thing that I promised? Let's watch the next clip.
But yeah, I do want to do it, and I'd like to do it sooner rather than later. But now, after waiting all this time, now if I just and I've half re-edited that chapter, so do I stop re-editing it, or do I push through on the editing, which turned out to be harder than I thought, so it could be better and sort of stand on its own, or I just go back to the old version, I barf it onto the blog. I could have done that a year and a half ago, and everybody would have been happy. So instead, I've made everybody miserable, and then I'm giving them the lame version. So
this was an interesting part of it. He talks about how he went back and re-edited half the chapter so it could stand on its own. And I have a couple thoughts about this. First of all, it's been, what, a year, 2 years since this whole thing started, and he's only edited half a chapter? Dude, we are never getting the third book in its entirety if that's the case. That's honestly, it's just absurd. But that aside, why is he making it stand on its own? It shouldn't stand on its own. It shouldn't feel like its own short story. It should feel like it's the first or the second or whatever chapter that it's going to be. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if he just took whatever he had originally, posted it, and then made revisions later on for the final product. But I feel like it's a little bit icky to rewrite a chapter to make it its own short story, which won't really be representative of the final product. And honestly, it's just more work taking him away from the third book. He even says that none of this would have happened if he had just copy and pasted what he had, that he started an even bigger shitstorm by trying to overthink it. When anyone is talking about Rothfuss, the phrase perfection is the enemy of progress comes up a lot. And this is the definition of that phrase. He's literally halting all his progress on anything else because he wants to tie a pretty bow on something that should have just been copy pasted. Obviously, like do some minor changes and like correct any like spelling errors or whatever, but don't do like edit upon edit upon edit. Like just post the chapter. Just like if you've written the chapter, if you've written any of the third book, then just post a chapter. I don't know. I think that Rothfuss kind of has this thing where he has to have it be perfect. He has to have it like exactly where he needs it. And to some extent, I get it. And I've heard arguments from, other King Killer fans that have said, this is going to be his legacy. He needs to make it perfect. But at some point, it's like you're just pissing off your fans. Like you're just making them more and more mad. Um, and I don't know, unless the book just is completely unfinished or has like major issues, I don't see why you wouldn't just start putting stuff out. We're gonna wrap this up with one more clip here.
Anyway, been eating in a while. So, I mean, here, y'all in the chat, I know, like, you guys are gracious and understanding. I appreciate you. Mostly because the people who are dicks come in here and they get banned pretty quick. So I don't have to deal with it actively here all the time. But, but yeah, like, for a while, everybody was upset, and if I accidentally Google my name, it's all like Pat Rothfuss defrauds fans or whatever. It's not a lot of fun to be online anymore.
So in this clip we just watched, he talks about how the people that are usually in his chat are very kind, which is awesome. We all need that. But he also says that the people that call him out or are upset with him get banned. And that kind of troubled me a little bit. It kind of boggled my mind. I feel like that's just creating an echo chamber of yes men and coddling. And I'm not advocating for anyone to be mean to him or to say hurtful things to him. I would never say that that is okay on any level. But if you're just banning all the people with legit criticism, how would you ever grow or learn from your mistakes and make changes or be able to respond to legitimate criticism? Let's say, for example, that I smelled really badly all the time. And anyone in my life who said, hey, dude, you smell bad and it's hard to be around you because of it, I just banned from my life. Didn't change my lifestyle, just went on stinking everywhere I went. If I just decided to not listen to that criticism, eventually no one would want to be around me anymore. And my quality of life and probably my productivity would go way down. Sometimes you need people to be honest with you so that you can make changes that will, shockingly, help you in the long run. And as you saw, the clip ends on kind of a sad note where he says, it's not really fun to be online anymore. And that, more than anything, really made me feel for him. The only real thing I have to criticize is that if you're seeing multiple articles written about you saying that you've stolen from your fans, maybe it's time to get yourself in gear and clear up your self-image instead of blaming everything else around you. And instead, just say, I'm so sorry. I totally screwed up. I'm going to do better and I'm going to work on the editing or whatever I need to do right after this stream. That's the only way out at this point, because even the people who are saying, I don't care when the third book comes out, take your time, are now turning against Rothfuss. The people that were the most diehard people that were like, nope, I believe in him, like he should take as long as he needs, they're now starting to see what the rest of us have seen for a while. There's almost no one that is super thrilled with him right now. The landscape used to be in favor of Rothfuss with people shutting naysayers down, but now everyone's kind of like, yeah, he fucked up pretty badly. So that's the apology video. Overall, I didn't find it to be very apologetic. I think that he should have actually apologized and not hidden behind a bunch of blame shifting and victimizing himself. I can certainly sympathize with him, and I can't begin to fully understand the kind of pressure that he's under every single day. But it's just hard to support him when he's been such a dick to his fans in the past, and now this, it's just difficult. It's not easy. It's not easy to like him right now. For a while now, I've basically said he's not getting any more of my money and that people need to vote with their wallets. I believe that with everything, any kind of media you like, I always say vote with your wallet and just stop buying his stuff. Because I guarantee you that when the money runs out, he'll be quick to get back in the good graces of his fans. But people keep enabling him, and it's really frustrating and sad. It's sad because, in my opinion, he is legitimately one of the greatest writers of the modern day, fantasy or not. He has an incredible mind that was able to think up such compelling and complex stories that is just absolutely beautiful, and it's so fucking depressing to see it go to waste. Just like we see with Quoth in the present day timeline, it's literally a perfect parallel, which actually makes me wonder if this is some super meta social experiment sometimes. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And I just want to see him succeed and be the best version of himself. And, the question around him and George R. R. Martin is always, do authors owe us a completed series? And most people say no, they don't. But I disagree. At that level of fame and fandom, I would say they do. When your fan base has gotten you to where you are, to basically fantasy stardom, you have to recognize that you are only there because the readers are so passionate about your work. So passionate that they dropped $700 for a chapter. Yeah, you're damn right that they owe the fandom a completed series. I really don't think that it's too much to ask for. After the series is over, if they want to retire, then awesome for them. Look at J.K. Rowling. She dropped the mic with Harry Potter and then basically said, that's it. I'm pretty much done for the most part. But we got a completed series, and most of us love it. I mean, look at Sanderson. He's detailed his entire writing process, even taught classes on it, and puts out multiple books a year. I kind of feel like no one has any real excuse to not finish their series when someone like Sanderson is doing that. And obviously, Sanderson is a madman. I'm not holding anyone to his specific standard. I'm just saying that he's got an outline for his day. He sits down at a specific time. He knows exactly what he's doing for that day. He has it all mapped out. I'm like, man, that's what a lot of these authors with these massive fandoms should be striving for. Like that, the reason Sanderson does that, obviously because he loves doing it and there's money and whatnot, but also he loves his fans, and I feel like Rothfuss doesn't really. I don't know. At the end of the day, I hope that Rothfuss gets whatever help he needs and he becomes stronger for all of these struggles and is more open and honest with his audience and just gets back on the horse and starts using his time wisely, because even though we don't really know what he does with his day, it feels like he's doing a bunch of stuff that just isn't the third book. And even if that's just a perspective thing on our part, it still shouldn't feel that way. I never really feel like any of my other favorite authors just aren't doing anything, even someone like Scott Lynch. But hey, before I go, I will say vote with your wallet. If you want another King Killer book, then prove it by not spending money on any of his other stuff. That's literally the best thing that we can possibly do. Also, we're doing a review on this in a couple weeks, but if you're desperate for more King Killer, then check out the Art of the Adept series by Michael Manning. It's clearly inspired by King Killer, but it's not a ripoff like that first Binding book. It's really, really good, and it absolutely scratches the King Killer itch. I've been enjoying the hell out of it, and the audiobooks are really, really excellent. Instead of feeling like a King Killer clone, it just feels like more King Killer a lot of the time. I won't do a whole review for it now, but just look it up. Don't judge it by its cover art, because the cover art is not fantastic. But you will not be disappointed with it. I promise you, if you are a fan of King Killer, you absolutely need to check out this series, because it really, really does the trick, especially the second book. I think there's 5 books in the series. I just finished the second one, and I couldn't be happier with it. It was so great. Anyways, thanks for letting me rant a bit. I didn't want it to turn into a rant or anything. Hopefully, it wasn't too ranty and more of a critique, I guess. But I really needed to talk about all of this and just finally get my thoughts about Patrick Rothfuss out there into the public. And I felt like this was a pretty good time, because I think that the climate around Patrick Rothfuss, the social climate, is starting to change a little bit, and people are starting to understand a little bit more why a lot of us are getting really, really frustrated and have been for a while. If you're new here, check out our other King Killer episodes on our channel. We absolutely love King Killer. That's why I feel so strongly about this, because we deeply believe in this story, and we've discussed it many, many times on the podcast. Check out our other videos. I think you're really going to like them. We have theory videos. We have deep dives into each book with like multiple parts. I think our Wise Man's Fear episode had like 2 parts to it, because we had so much to say about it. So we have a lot of content there if you would like to look at that. You can reach out to us on Twitter, Discord, or Patreon, all linked below, or you can just leave a comment on the video. I'm always happy to talk to you guys there. Like, subscribe, all that jazz, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next video.
And a big shout out to our first Night Angel tier patron, Shad Zaman. Thank you so much, man.